this country tour and educate young people in Hungary about climate change. This is my mission.
And what is the greatest challenge in that mission, and how can we help?
I think financial problems are also really important for this tour, and also connecting with the global community so that we have those values that we can advocate to Hungarian young people, and so that we can connect young people all over the world through these ideas. Well, that we can all learn from each other. And as youth delegates, I think it's really important to show the importance of learning from other cultures to young people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this financial constraint is a big theme that we're seeing, especially in youth empowerment. And I think that with that comes an issue that people think that sustainable investing, that you're sacrificing something, that you can only work in the public sector or the nonprofit sector. But we're actually seeing the opposite, that sustainable investing has a higher return and lower volatility than traditional investing. So you don't have to sacrifice your economic impact for a social and environmental impact, that it can all really work together. Yes, sir.
Hello, Murat from Turkey, working as a manager in the private investments and development bank. Benefits and sustainability. I want to take the floor. We are financing 2 billion, and 60% of the projects is sustainable projects. Renewable energies, resource efficiency, energy efficiency, sustainable cities. And we see that since we are financing the private sector, and there is no economic benefit, there will be no sustainability and no financing. We mostly interest in the environmental sustainability, but there are other aspects, and for 3 or 4 years we are working on especially on social sustainability. For instance, we have designed a credit line for women employment, create new things about also the interest in the SDGs. We as the bank also interest in the reports of the SDGs for Turkish ministry. And now for the challenge, before you asked, I have a new challenge for designing the new credit plan about youth employment.
Sorry, what was that?
Youth employment.
Youth employment.
Yes, we are designing the criteria, because when you want to give the money to private sector, you need additional things. And since we are different from the commercial banks, they have to do additional things for the sustainability. So I agree with you, sustainability or sustainable investments are not sacrificing, because there is always also the economic benefits. And I hope that the companies will understand that better and try more, because we see that, yes, the climate is important, but most of the investments go to climate mitigation, not to adaptation. Because all of the investors are looking for the economic benefits.
And how can we all help you with that?
We are still looking for something new. For now on, for the past, as I said, 3 or 4 years, we are working on the social sustainability, because if we develop the communities, the cultures, the people, maybe their understandings can change. So we are trying to find a new way to develop people more and more. It depends on the people.
Of course. Sure. Thank you. Panelists, do you have any thoughts so far that you'd like to respond?
Yeah, I'm just adding to him, like, you can do well and do good at the same time. And I think for mitigating that risk, the education is a big component, knowledge and wisdom. If we add to the communities when we do the social work and we do the credit, we give them the credit, but we give them the support and the technical assistance to make the project successful. So we invest in their success, and the companies and the entrepreneurs will understand once we incentivize them in the right way so we can give the incentives through that network to continue to do good and do well and respect the environment and utilizing the resources in a smart way.
Fantastic. Julie, you wanted to say something?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to add, earlier we were talking about the difficulties for young people to make their voices heard, and I think, yes, while that is an issue on the bigger level, it's also really easy for every one of us to make our voices heard on a smaller level. It starts, in my opinion, with our personal connections that we all have. Like in my friend circle alone, there's many people who don't really care about climate, so we can change that. We can start with talking to them and educating them and giving the topic a much higher relevance and priority on this personal level, and that already has a great impact if everyone does that. So you don't have to join or lead an initiative to make your voice heard.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it starts with yourself, and once you change yourself, then you can like spread that awareness to other people. And I think it's like you can't just start by blaming others, saying that, oh, that person isn't doing it, so that it's their fault that this is happening. So I think that once you start it with yourselves, you have that satisfaction that, okay, I've done something, and then you start working with everyone else. And gradually, I am a very positive person, so I believe that gradually you have governments, public, private sector, and civil society all working together in harmony. So there are some countries who are going towards that, but yeah, I think we do have a long way to go, but I do believe it's possible.
Thank you. Other Europeaners, where's Europe at? Yes, please.
I'm from the United States, but I've been in Austria for a while, and I'm here for Young European Leadership, so I'm everywhere. I think one kind of barrier I'm not hearing people talk about too much is, I know that, we mentioned that we need to listen, our youth need a voice and they need financing, but once they get that stuff, kind of the knowledge and the skills of how to use it best. Because I look back into my master's research, which I did on an island in Nicaragua, and very undeveloped pretty much island, and there's people there, and there's one guy who's telling me all these things he wants to do to help his community, but there's, he didn't go to much schooling and all this stuff. There's no capacity building available there for him. So I think that's a major problem. We have the people with the passion. Just how do we allow them to get the skills that let them use that passion to do good and then help other people and personal
Capacity building. Thank you for that. Miro, I saw you react to that. You are an expert in capacity building. Can you share some of your thoughts on that, and what are the opportunities, the challenges within GLOSHA?
Okay, thank you for the microphone. I have to sort my thoughts. Yeah, so I think that young people have a lot of potential, and they have this drive also to create a future that is livable for them. So it's very egoistic also, self-interested is driving you, and it's knowledge is a key resource that we need for anything that we are doing to really have an impact, to connect meaningfully, to have be part of intervention logic that creates impact. And in terms of capacity, it's also for people to know how to connect with the technology, through the technologies, with these international networks. And the world is now all on public Paris Agreement implementation. And it's really, that's our goal of humanity for survival. And in the end, there will be also many resources also aligned to this. And so the capacity that people need is to align their thinking and their acting in this mechanism for a reduction of CO2 concentrations and adaptation, and therefore there we want to help. These are some thoughts about a little bit abstract probably.
That's great, thank you. All right, let's keep moving on. Let's go over to this side of the room, get a little farther back. Europe, Europeaners, yeah, let's get back here. Hi.
Hello, I'm Josephine. I'm working in the youth association called Climates from France, but we are an international association. Actually, we are a think and do tank, and we have projects of advocacy, research, and empowerment. So I am actually working on education issue. I am coordinating an empowerment project called COP in My City. So basically, we organize simulations of COPs for and by. But many of the countries represented here are not organizing one this year, so I kindly invite you to talk to me. I can give you more details about it. And yeah, I'm glad to be part of youth organizations and networks. I participated to COI, where I met many young activists, including Agnes. So we are working with youth delegates, with students and young professionals, and we also try to raise youth voice and the education issue into the negotiations. So thank you for permitting us to present our project.
Thank you. And if you can tell us a little more about that. It's called COP in My City?
Yeah.
And what are the goals of that, and what are your challenges for meeting those goals?
So basically we provide a toolkit for all persons interested. And we divide all the events in 3 steps, which are training, simulation, and action. So we make education, but also capacity building during the simulation. It's a role climate game, and all the participants represent delegations, countries and delegations, and we try to reach together the 2 degrees. And yes, we also encourage an action part, which really depends on the local context. So it can be recycling, it can be afforesting, it can be, I don't know, like photos or a workshop on the consequences of climate change. So it's a very complete program, and I am coordinating it since a few months, but it has been 4 years. It's one of the main projects of Climates Association.
Fantastic. Well, I definitely hope you have one in California coming up. So you want to share as well? Same organization, all right. How about you, sir? No? You know, any Germans? Do we have any Germans here? One German? There's another one on the way. Hello?
Hi. So I think we have a bit of advantage in Germany that we don't have a money problem so much, but on the other hand, it's to the international level, and I think with climate we definitely have a topic that we can't solve only in one country. It gets sad also if you have good context to all the nations, because there's a lack of funding on. Also, if you look at capacity building, for example, we can have funds for European participants, but as soon as you leave Europe and the people, the countries next to Europe, there's no funding anymore from the European Union or Council of Europe. So there's really a challenge to actually have some capacity building for people from countries who are maybe would have more use for that, where people could actually have a bigger impact with less resources. So I think that's something where we could really use some new investment methods to help these people also to attend our seminars and to give opportunities to more people from all over.
That's great, thank you. Good, let's hear it.
I actually wanted to build on the point of like, what do you do after, like, you know they're passionate, but what do you do after that in the capacity building thing? So I wanted to give an example of what my organization does. So we have environmental or sustainability workshops, academies, and conferences, which are tailor-made workshops ranging from 2-hour sessions to full-day events. And we usually target like, well, schools and universities, but also like corporate, hotel management, etc. And yeah, we talk to them first, but after that, that's when like the creative stuff comes in. So music, art, dance, drama, sports, writing. So some of the examples I wanted to give was we have like an eco-fashion show. So like people who are like really into that kind of thing, they express their view, their passion through that. So we give them like the materials and the opportunity to use that to hone like whatever they want to do. And then we have music, composing songs, or we have like flash mobs so that the really active ones can, or even the ones who don't want just dance to come up and like just be a part of the movement. And of course we have art where it's like whichever workshop we've done, like in whichever part of the world, we've always been able to see that whether it's a young person or it's an adult, they've been able to express themselves regardless of the language barrier. So for us, the creative, we link the creative ways to our type of capacity building.
That's great. Did you want to add something also? Is it from the German representation?
I think from the German side in general, the only thing is to say that I appreciate that part of my education definitely was learning a lot about climate change and all the consequences and how we have to interfere there. But an interesting experience for me now was that I moved to America for my master's studies and learned there that people don't really learn about it in school that much, or not as much, and so I made it my personal mission kind of to educate them about it and to give the topic more priority and to advocate for it. And I think that just shows that as Germans we might be in a privileged position within the whole movement, because we're not the ones really affected by climate change that much yet, but we learn about it, but we're causing it also a lot. So we really need to, as Germans, reach out to the world and include them more and think about that also. That's just the thought that.
Yeah, and I agree that I think it's really important that environmental sustainability education is in schools, and most of them don't have that, although there are schools that are coming up. So that is when like we have our academy, so that we can actually educate the students about the environmental challenges like outside school, because they don't have it in school. And now it's like the teachers also understand that, okay, this is something that is important. It's not just, you know, another kid doing it. It's something that's really, really important, and it's they understand that, okay, we need to act now. So yeah, I think environmental education is super important for schools, universities, and even in like your corporate environment. So.
And just final point to add to that, I think environmental education is not just what we receive in school, but also it's really important for every one of us to stay actively informed and to actively read about these things, because a lot of the news channels only report on this issue when the climate conference is happening in Bonn, you know, like now it's everywhere. But apart from that, many news channels don't put it on the daily agenda. So it's important to actively look on the current state of information of this issue and to actively stay involved.
Absolutely. And so why don't we pass it over to another, speaking of education, another student and Glotra youth leader. Could you please share your thoughts on these issues and some of those challenges around that?
Yeah, what I think, I'm Simone from Holland, and what I think, I totally agree with your point about the capacity. I also see it in Holland that even when there's money, I think for young people, capacity and knowledge and also network is quite a big problem. Because yeah, when you have the money, where do you start? And if you have no experience in these kind of things, where can you start? But also what I face is policy. We didn't mention it yet, but I think, for example, in Holland we have some food stuff to reduce food waste, and yeah, in restaurants that food is reused. But then there's always the policy that you cannot use it because of hygiene rules. And I think, yeah, policy can be very limited, and yeah, there should change something in this as well.
What do you think is the greatest challenge for young people to get involved in that policy process and really have an impact on our legislation?
I don't know, it's quite hard because I think, yeah, I don't know in other countries, but in Holland the policy stuff is so difficult and complex to change anything. So it's really difficult, but I think especially government should be more open and yeah, less strict with this, and you can, if they show their voice and let them know, then maybe governments will work with them.
Thank you. You look like you have some wisdom to share and we follow you around. Can you share your thoughts on those issues and some of your own personal ones?
Well, Holland is an example worldwide. I mean, I come from the Caribbean, from the Dominican Republic. For 7 years, we've had national programs in schools, sponsored by the private sector. And what I feel is empowerment. People are like in automatic stage, not caring about anything. And basically, you just have to tap on their hearts and see that they can be different, make a difference. And sometimes I don't very much like the idea of having to say that we need funds. Mahatma Gandhi didn't have funds, and that didn't stop him. I think it's more like empowerment, you know, like